time for the Shop Report with
Barbershop J.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. We got a few things we want to get to today. I hope we got enough time, actually, is really what I want to do. But let me give you all the rundown. Urban Meyer's comments. Now, we had said last week or on last week's show that we would discuss Urban Meyer's comments because they came in kind of late, or I looked them up kind of late. So we didn't have enough time based on all the other stuff we were discussing. But here we are a week later, and we're going to discuss Urban Meyer's comments about the college football playoff system. And we're going to kind of add into that the penalties levied against Ohio State standout phenom Chase Young, and also James Wiseman, the Memphis standout, and, of course, Penny Hardaway down there on the hoop side of things. And, of course, our ongoing discussion about the NCAA and the vileness and the hypocrisy, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we also have the NFL teams that went from worst to first. Brother Richard is not with us today, unfortunately, but when he will be with us. Excuse me, he's just not here right now. And we kind of mentioning that there so that he and I can go back and forth about some other stuff as well we discussed last week. And, of course, the NFL Week 10, notable team performances. But up first, I want to discuss this whole load management thing when it comes to the NBA. Joining me on the program today is my man from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say. And before you do that, let me remind the folk once again that Brother Richard is not with us at this moment, but he should be joining us shortly. Double J, what's up, man? Tell the people what you say.
Yeah, Brother Rich is under load management protocol right now.
That's
just your man.
That's what that is. That's load management. And we also got a caller, my man from the COLM bus. D. Gully decided to join us here right quick. And while, again, we waiting on Brother Rich. Gully, what's the deal? What's going on? Let the people know what you got to say. That's Double J's line. But anyway.
Man,
yeah.
Everything is going on. I'm trying to stay out of this cold, man. I don't know if global warming or climate change exists, but winter is sure enough making this presence feel.
Yeah, who you telling? I had just mentioned, because the timing is kind of right on, spot on right there, I guess. I was just talking about load management. And I want to discuss this whole load management thing in the NBA. First off, help me to understand, because all three of us are on Facebook, okay? Double J, you in the Ultimate, what is it? Is it still a Lee Former Ultimate Michigan Sports Lounge, or did it go back to that? Is Lee Former, what is it now? I don't even know. I just know I comment at time too. What is it now?
That is the Ultimate Lee Former Sports Lounge.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Getting kind of uppity up there, huh? A little bougie? Gotcha. But, and Gully, you too. So I'm sure you all have seen in your timelines, and I've seen it in mine, this whole deal about Kawhi Leonard. It's not even, 10 games into the season. He already, done sat down, 34 times or whatnot. But the thing that, now I don't want to say drew my ire, so to speak, but there was eyebrow raising, is all of the feedback from the folks on Facebook when Kawhi did it, as if though this whole load management thing is a new thing and he's the orchestrator of it all. I'm saying correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but Kawhi is following suit. Is he not? Even before LeBron James, exercised his, because the narrative was not nearly as offensive, should I say, or vehement, or, folks weren't as vile or vocal when LeBron did it, or even a little bit before that when Greg Popovich did it. I mean, Gully, you're a Spurs fan. I mean, this was the norm in San Antonio, right?
Absolutely. It was for aging veterans to make sure that they were ready for the most important season in the NBA season, which is the postseason. So this isn't anything new.
Exactly. So I don't understand why. Because to me, it just points out the hypocrisy of the Bron apologists and the willful ignorance of the Bron apologists. When this dude did it, there were people who spoke out on it, people like myself and the folks who, join us on this program or whatnot. But it's the level. When Bron did it and Popovich and them did it, the volume was maybe at 2 or 3. Kawhi do it, and they turned the volume up so loud, man, it went past this highest point. They broke the knob. You get what I'm saying? So, Double J, we'll start with you, man. Why is this load management such a big deal now that Kawhi has done it?
Well, I mean, simply put, Gully just pointed out some of the vast differences in styles in which they were used. So, again, as a whole, at its nucleus, the reality of it is the player is missing a game that they otherwise could have been active for in some capacity. I feel like from the league's point of view, they've always felt like, hey, a player's minutes is always subjective to the team itself. You can have your superstar play 2 minutes, should you choose, or less even, almost be without being a healthy scratch or deemed load management. So when you looked at players in their mid to upper 30s, like a Tim Duncan, a Manu Ginobili, a Tony Parker, these are guys that had played nearly extra seasons because of the playoff workload that they had for the better part of a decade. So it was very much understandable. Hey, again, you can't argue those facts, but it's still, again, like you said, there still was some volume there when they made that decision, but it was a little bit more digestible to everybody but the casual fan. With this, other than the fact that it's a back-to-back game, there's really no credibility that, behind just the fact that they don't want their guy playing more than, every other day.
Interesting. Gully, you go ahead and weigh in on that as well.
All right. Years ago, when I worked at a factory, at the start of the new year, we were all given our PTO, right? Paid time off, days that we can clock out, not go to work, and still get paid for it, right? And we were free to use them, free to use them as we saw fit. So there would be the guys that would, in the beginning of the year, in January, February, itching to use that paid personal time, they would just burn right through it. I'm talking about January, you'd have 16 paid days off. Mid-January, they've used 14, okay? And then, they'd have to go the rest of the entire year with those 2 days. You had a company days off, the 4th of July, Labor Day, what have you, but they'd have 2 paid personal days off, and they'd have to suffer for it. Here's the thing. In the inverse sense, we're talking about a healthy scratch Kawhi not playing a November game. I think this is the reason why it came up. He's the most notable example of this sort of egregious offense of the players and the fans. He decided not to play a November game against the Milwaukee Bucks. My point is not where you start, is where you finish. Okay, in April or in March or in February, this same scenario happens with the same sort of marquee matchup in February. Kawhi is a healthy scratch. I think it's a bit more detrimental, but it's Game 10. Nothing is established in Game 10. If you want to preserve health for the long run, if you are a Clippers fan or you are a Kawhi Leonard fan or you are an NBA fan of the sport, you want to see the greater matchups later. I don't care that in Game 10 or Game 5 he wants to be a healthy scratch. I'm not paying for them tickets. I shouldn't be really excited for all of that. I'd rather wait for it to end. I'm not seeing a problem here.
Okay, here's the thing, and here was my issue when I first heard the term. The first time even though it was being done by Popovich or whatnot, but the first time I actually heard a term put to it was when I saw Bron do it. Now people out there gonna say, "Are you picking on Bron?" Look, my feelings have been made known about that dude long before now. Okay, and we tell the truth here. The first time I heard the term, I'm curious because, and the issue I had with it, was you might not, you and I and Double J and Brother Rich, we're grown. But there's some kid out there, or kids, whose parents have to really script and scrape because their son loves basketball. And who knows, he might be the next LeBron or whatever. You get what I'm saying? So he got all the jerseys and who his favorite team and the guy's name on the back of the jersey and so on and so forth. And that's the one time he maybe can get, his parents can come up with, maybe for a birthday present or something, they get taken to the game, and your favorite player's not playing. Me personally, I have an issue with it altogether. And Kawhi Leonard is my favorite player. And I have an issue with it on a lot of fronts. One being, it's an 82-game season. Last time I checked, at least going as far back as when I started watching the NBA and understanding what the NBA was and all about, so to speak, it's been an 82-game season. And this is why I cannot stand the comparisons, especially when people make the comparisons between these today NBA players and yesteryear players using statistics only, or putting up these graphs saying he averaged a triple-double and some. Listen, and I'm going to use Jordan in this case, not for a literal sense, but in a figurative sense, so to speak, or whatever word you might find that falls in between literal and figurative. Jordan, when I say had to deal with, or the degree of difficulty, Gully, you've heard me use that term more than once, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Jordan's degree of difficulty, you cannot get by watching YouTube and highlight videos of him. Unfortunately, for those who didn't grow up in that era, you had to have seen it. You had to have seen Jordan in the battles that he had to deal with the Cavs back then, with the Charlotte Hornets, with Alonzo and Larry Johnson and Muggsy and Dale Curry, and the Knicks and the Pacers with Rick Smits and the Dave Davis. A lot of guys who be talking NBA nowadays, they don't even know who the Davis brothers were for the Pacers. You get what I'm saying? So here it is. And we all know the story about the bad boy Pistons, right? And we've seen highlights of when Jordan was trying to go for a layup or whatever it is and get hammered. We saw what happened to Kurt Rambis. I mean, the league was rough back then, okay? It was physical, right? So here it is with the level of physicality in the era I grew up in. And Gully, you saw the tail end of it too. The level of physicality now is nowhere near on the charts of what it was back then. So not only did them guys back then, Jordan in particular, play 82 games, taking a beating, right? Because hand checking was allowed back then. But when he got to the playoffs, he was better. See what I'm saying? So here these newbie dudes crying, because we've heard this a time or two, a few years back, when it started coming out. I have never heard these terms and words being used associated with guys who were professionals, number one. Number two, guys who are supposed to be so much bigger, better, stronger, and faster. And number three, so much more talented than back then. Well, then how is it y'all can't even endure some of the small nuances or the little nuances that the back then NBA had to deal with on a regular basis? Low management. Kiss my Scott. And that's for all of them. And again, Kawhi Leonard is my favorite player, but it ain't him. I'm going to tell you why I think he's doing it. And I'm not excusing him for it. I'm just telling you why I think he's doing it. Because, and you can thank LeBron James for this, LeBron James has made it possible for these players, NFL too, we're starting to see a rash of that as well. Players are now have woken, he woke players upstairs, up between them ears like, hey man, you are your own entity. And you need to be conducting yourself as such. Now, I don't have a problem with that. When you raising your kids out here and you sending them out here in the world, you don't go tell them, oh, go work for somebody, do you? No. You say go out there and know your worth. So I ain't mad at him for that. But here's what happens. When you pray for rain, a lot of times folks fail to realize that the mudslides coming with it, baby. You done opened up a can of worms. Nah, this is a residual, of LeBron's influence, as Brother Rich would say. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Load management, really? And it asking me this question. How come players, and I think kind of Double J, you might have alluded to it a little bit, how come players can't get their load managed, or their loads managed, yes, that's it, loads managed in-game? Hey, coach, Hey, man, can you, if possible, man, and now that's where coaching really comes in, if you ask me. Just like a supervisor got to understand and how to delegate based on personalities and such. Hey, man, I got to delegate minutes so you can get your rest during the season. But I'm tired of hearing these dudes. They want more, but they want to do less. And again, I think Kawhi doing it based off of his whole I forget his uncle's name, but when he had that issue with how he got hurt, with the Spurs or whatnot. And I know it's a different sport, but the situation, or excuse me, the concept is the same. Think about Trent Williams, the offensive lineman. So I get why players now are saying, you know what, we're not listening to teams no more and team doctors no more. Trent Williams, he had some sort of tumor or something in the back of his head or whatnot, and Washington team doctors was kind of basically, he'll be all right in a minute. You know how our grandparents used to do. Oh, you sick? Take some Father John's cough syrup. You broke your leg? Take some NyQuil. You'll be all right. That type of deal. Look, man, at the end of the day, man, this whole load management, this flip-flopping, this, matter of who was the guy? Oh, my goodness. Bledsoe for the Milwaukee Bucks. They were playing the Clippers. Lou Williams was driving left, and Bledsoe flailed back like he had got hit on the shoulder. And they showed the replay like, you know how they do now, 332,000 times at 472,000 angles. I mean, but you really saw it the first time in real time, when you was watching this. I'm like, why y'all showing so many angles? Lou his shoulder never touched Bledsoe. And then I'll go back a little bit further to when Draymond Green said that he knew he had to stop flopping or trying to get a call and being over demonstrative or just over compensatory with all of this crap going on. Excuse me for taking the floor, gentlemen, but y'all hear me out on this one. When his 2-year-old, he said he came home and his 2-year-old son was watching him in the game, and his 2-year-old son was falling out on the floor. I don't want to hear nothing about this new BA. And if I hear anybody talking about this new BA and trying to validate it or make the comparisons to validate why it should be compared to back then, believe me, I'm going to have something to say. We can all differ in our opinions. That's what makes us all individually unique. But what individually and more so collectively, what we can't be different or differ on is the fact that we're all under one sun and one moon. Y'all get my drift where I'm going with this? Some things are what they are despite what your opinion, how it may differ from mine. You see what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, all this, man, throw all of that in the bag, man. It's a reason why I call it the Today BA, the new BA, or Bransky ball. Huh? Man, don't put powdered sugar on a pile of dog poo and try to convince me it's a funnel cake and I see flies taking off and landing. And on top of that, it stank. You understand? This whole load management and all of those type of stuff, man. I'm telling all, play 82. Like them cats back in the day, you understand what I'm saying, who played 82 but wasn't getting private jets and private workouts and didn't have hyperbaric chambers. Because, see, that's another issue with mine. How is load management even an issue or even mentioned, even in the Today BA, when you turn that page or flip the coin over and you see these dudes, they always posting workout videos or you hear talk about how much money they spending on their bodies. So you load manage for what? For what? Let's go ask Bill Russell how many times he had to sit next to players on a commercial flight. Huh? After talking about back-to-back. Oh, he don't play on the back-to-back. And then, oh, stop it. With his knees, Bill Russell, all the way up to his chin because he's so tight. The seats are so tight on the commercial flight, and they just got done playing the St. Louis Royals or whatever it is 10 minutes ago. Now they flying all the way on the West Coast to play a back-to-back. I don't get it, man. That's these new dudes. Y'all want more, but y'all want to do less. Where they do that at? How do that fare well in the end? So to me, load management is a load of, I'm not going to even say it. I'm not going to even say it. And I'm saying that for all of them. Play the game, man. And the fans out there who want to make excuses for when one guy do it, that's be my issue with the Brown apologists. Versus when Kawhi do it, come on now. If it's wrong, then it's wrong, regardless of whose name is on the door. Do you all agree with me? Double J. If you don't, please tell them people what you say. All right. Okay. All right. Gully, if I'm wrong, then tell the people what you say.
Again, I would
Okay.
say it's worth noting. I think it's worth noting. It's worth noting to create that distinction between who are the greats now versus who are the greats from yesteryear, right? From the other decades, from the other eras of basketball. Guys only sat if they were really hurt. They didn't sit, so to speak, or that we know of. They didn't sit knowing that they could be healthy enough to play, knowing that, unless they were as a guy that was really coming off of injury. Like, for example, I can imagine a scenario where Paul George might be ready, but they're going to wait just to make sure. You follow me? Versus Kawhi, who's been otherwise healthy this time, though he had an injury in his past, he's been otherwise healthy this postseason, the most recent postseason, healthy to start the season, and just going to take a break, pump the brakes on him. I get it. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. Let's just make sure that when the season really starts to matter, when we're talking about playoff seeding, when we're talking about playoff positioning, when we're talking about playoff basketball, going to the finals, that this was all worth it.
Hold on. Let me stop you right there. You said when the season matters. See, that's a big problem too. Because every game mattered back then when I grew up. Every game. Anytime I step on the floor to compete against you, every game mattered, every possession mattered. Why is that not the case now? It's still two hoops on one end or another. It's still a half court. It's still a free throw line. It's still it's a 3-point line. Why don't it matter? See what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate that we've given these dudes a pass. And I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general, to some extent, that we've given these dudes a pass in saying, matter of fact, I think I even posted not even a week ago, or maybe a week ago, a little bit longer, that the NBA season don't start until after the All-Star break. And why do I every time we talk about this, why do I find a way to mention the 94-95 7-game series between the Knicks and the Pacers? Go back and look at them two teams' seasons. That 94-95 season. Look at both of them teams and you can YouTube games and see the level of play based on the competition. Every possession mattered all the way through the entire season. Here it is right now. We're saying, oh, okay, well, I know, and again, all this stuff to me falls in line with that whole idea of everybody get a participation trophy now because you participated and all of that. Where's the incentive?
Well, here's the question, though. This is the point I want to argue in case as it relates to Kawhi Leonard being a otherwise healthy scratch. He also did mention rather passively that he was surprised that the NBA revealed the extent of his injury. So let's all consider too, the NBA even acknowledged that he's dealing with the injury. He acknowledges he's dealing with the injury. So are we not going to believe that he's injured?
No.
That he's still healing himself?
No.
Because remember, that's the reason why we're dealing with the load management issue.
No, listen, you're not hearing me. I'm not talking about him per se, as I am the two words, load management, and the response from fans that he is doing it versus the lack thereof when LeBron did it. LeBron said when he was with the Cavs, I don't sit out games unless I'm injured. But then he done been more than one occasion. They got the cameras on him. He's sitting out and he wasn't hurt. And when I went to the full court, well, he played in that game. But when I went to the Full Court Fathers Foundation years ago when Khalil, with my oldest son, was a wee bit small, Cavs had Shannon Brown was on the squad at the time, and they wasn't calling it that then. But he sat out too. He was a healthy scratch too. It was because he had some sort of hamstring, and I'm just gonna say he was looking like he was. I was like, man, he looked at me. He gave me a look. What's already understood need not be explained. That's all I'm saying. Yes, if Kawhi is still injured, see, and again, when I say I'm not talking about him per se, it's the words associated with him, and he really is just doing, in any other instance, I would, shame on you for being a follower. But hey, It's the norm now is what I'm saying. And that's really my question. Why is it such a norm now? You feel me? If you're hurt, and don't nobody know better than me when it come to knees and ankles and stuff. When you hurt, right? And if you hurt, then sit out, whatever, right, got you. But folks had an issue about him not playing against the better team versus playing against the lesser team on the back-to-back. I said, okay, that's fine. You got an issue with that? Well, have an issue with everybody that do it, especially y'all's king. Get my drift? Go ahead, finish so we can move on to the next one there, Gully.
Oh, no, I'm all right. I've said, I think I covered it, pretty much what I was going to say.
Yeah.
As it relates to it.
But go ahead, Double J, you want to weigh in?
I
Right?
got one point here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you guys Gully brought up a great point, is that the league had to go as far as to investigate this and then reveal that there was an injury. And so, from a competitive standpoint, you never want to let your opponent know, in anything
Exactly.
in this world, that they may have an advantage somewhere. And so I think the Clippers were playing coy by titling it that load management because, again, thanks to their LA counterpart, LeBron James and the Lakers, really, if he wanted to trademark or patent something, he would have been better off with load management rather than Taco Tuesday because it's kind of synonymous with him.
Exactly. My point exactly. Good stuff, fellas. The number to call if you're up and around, you're out and about, you want to give us a shot, and I didn't mention that from the beginning. My bad, people. Area code 267-687-0026. That number again, area code 267-687-0026. All right, let's move on to some college football talk. Now, this is kind of like a two-part deal here. In the first portion of this college football action that we're getting ready to discuss is Urban Meyer's comments about the college football playoff system. And I thought when I saw that last week, I was like, wow, really? Yeah, okay, got you. Why now? So let me read you all a little something. Actually, a little piece here from, Urban Meyer and what he had to say in regards to his comments about this college football playoff system. If my computer here would give me a minute. It's loading. Yeah, I'm slow here. Okay, so it's still loading here. Bear with me. You all want to talk about what your favorite ice cream is, by the way, until we get this thing up and going? I thought I had it here.
Well, while you're loading it, I'm just intrigued by this because I feel like had the Clippers really wanted to take it there, they could have filed some kind of grievance against the league for exposing an injury that they may have been trying to keep under wraps or internal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know as to why, again, we just don't know. But I think it was to throw shade at their, again, who they share the space with and the staples with specifically, and to try to maybe spark change by this to prevent that guy, the one who we would claim is Mr. Load Management, from resting games later this season come March, say, for example, a trip to Detroit versus the Pistons, he may sit that one out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad. I'm actually, I hadn't even given that thought or hadn't really thought about it like that. Yeah, they could have, but maybe they just feel like, they're just so much better than everybody else. Who knows? I don't know. My computer is freezing up here for whatever reason.
Wouldn't you say that's kind of the state of the league at this point, is that everybody has these hidden agendas? It's no longer, like you said, it's not the Jordan rules. It's the rules as a whole for the entire league, and everybody tries to gain some competitive edge in some particular way, and that can go as far as this. And I don't think this is one big conspiracy theory by any means here that we're diving into or hitting the tip of the iceberg. But I definitely feel like it's something to pay attention to if it were to happen again. Let's take a look at the next load management story and how that approached, regardless of who the player is. But I think the higher the profile, the bigger the microscope.
Well, that's possible. Yeah, I couldn't argue that. Okay, I think I'm ready here. I think I'm ready here. Oh boy, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, at the end of the day, I don't know what happened to my article here. I had it up. At the end of the day, Urban Meyer seems to think that as it's currently constructed, the college football playoff system is a farce. And that's my word, not his. I think his word that he used in particular was somewhere along the lines of, in its current incarnation, it's a low management, I guess, right? But my question is, why is this something that, well, he called it a failed system, is what he said. And he blamed the lack of uniform scheduling for the format's difficulties. But one of my questions is, why now, Urban? Why come out with this now? Would he have been wrong, Gully, to have come out with this when he was roaming the sidelines as Ohio State's coach?
Yes, he would have.
And why? Briefly tell us why.
Because especially as an Ohio State football head coach, arguing that it's a failed system would have sounded like a play for Ohio State to get more inclusion in the tournament in the college football playoff, which it's been argued. Remember the notorious argument for the year that they felt like they should have gotten in 2017, compared to a year where they did get in and got embarrassed by Clemson. I think Urban Meyer is correct. I've got my own misgivings about the college football playoff myself, but I think it would have been wrong for him to mention something, especially as Ohio State head coach.
Okay, because he also says, Urban Meyer does, that, he talked about the conferences and how some teams never go on the road, some teams play weak schedule. And then he said you hear things about subjectivity, like the look test. Now, you know me, I've stand by the eye test. But he's saying as far as the committee is concerned. So he's saying, he said when he hears stuff like that, like who is equipped to make that decision? He wants to know, what are you looking at? He's saying, do you understand when you play a great team on the road, LSU, for instance, goes to Texas to play, and that's September 7th, and the Tigers win 45-38, the Longhorns home field in week 2. That's much more difficult than playing at home when you're picked to win by 55 points. Double J, you agree with that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so then Meyer also says he urged teams to schedule home and home games, which are better for everyone, he says, involved, as opposed to guaranteeing games against FCS opponents. Double J, I'm coming back to you on that one. If I'm reading this correctly and understanding what I'm reading here correctly, is he not saying in this breath the same thing I've been saying about college football and teams who beat up on patsies, because they all do, all of the blue bloods, if you would, the Bamas and the Clemsons, all the ones that are household names, they all beat up on the pansies. It's just that the Bamas and the Clemsons, for the most part, do the big boys like they do the pansies. So it's really no argument there for me, not in my opinion. But is he saying to some degree what I've been saying as far as the one caveat when it comes to college football is that you can schedule who you play? Now, nobody said don't, as my cat RB would say, pay it forward to the little guy. But how many little guys you going to pay it forward to? Especially when your conference, for the most part, I mean, I know Minnesota's didn't shock some people. They kind of like undefeated, I believe, since 1904. But outside of that, the Big Ten is lightweight kind of weak. No offense, Double J, being a Purdue alum and all. But the Big Ten is kind of weak. So, and I mentioned Texas A&M. That's my example that I use when I hear people talking about, you play these pansies, Ohio State in particular, and then they get a spot in the college football playoff standings. You look up 1 week after they go 5-0, and they done went from 5-0 to number 3 in the CFB Playoff standings. And you're like, how did that happen? How do they get to jump this guy and that guy? And if we remember now with them in particular, we go back to 2016. That whole Penn State fiasco I thought you was, see, this is what I mean, man. This is what I think about Booster. I wish Brother Richard was here because he's probably the number one booster. This is what I mean by booster influence. again, in my opinion. You cannot tell me that in 2016 that Penn State should not have been in the spot versus Ohio State. Penn State did everything that year in 2016 that the committee said is what that they look at when they go in to see who should be in what, and Penn State still did not get in. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? It's a booster influence. Gully, you sound like you want to weigh in over there. Sound like you chomping at the bit.
Because the travesty with that is based on the fact that Ohio State had a loss, it guaranteed Penn State a spot in the Big Ten championship, which by virtue of Penn State winning the Big Ten championship, it forfeited their ability to get in the playoff because it helped Ohio State's record by virtue of Penn State winning that Big Ten title. It was the biggest farce I had ever imagined for a scenario for the college football playoff.
Yeah, because he goes on to say, Meyer does, uniform scheduling, play a Power 5 home and home, and whether you go 4-team or 8-team, talking about the playoffs, I guess, I think the subjectivity is going to be minimized because you're playing a similar schedule. You know, many argue, and I'm in agreement. I think the playoffs, college football playoffs, should be expanded. Oh, wow, I don't know why I can't say that. Why it's almost bit my tongue. Yeah, to at least 6, because they always put the 4 up, and then they mention the 2 right outside of the 4, the 5 and the 6 or whatever. So expanded to 6. But the thing is, he's saying if you get rewarded for a look test, it's not because you put up 350 yards against a team that's not very good. I don't know. Again, it just lends itself to my argument, what has been my argument for quite some time. Rankings, to me, they don't really weigh as much for me as they do some people, because I've watched enough college football throughout the years, and I'm telling you, you can go right down the line. Every year, on more than one occasion, there's a team that's ranked 8th. Matter of fact, I'll even go this year. And you know what? Let me back up a bit when I'm talking about scheduling, the non-conference scheduling and teams being able to schedule. The example that I use is Texas A&M this season. Do you know who Texas A&M had to play this season? And I think we already discussed that. I believe we did. But the point was, everybody loves talking hyperboles and what ifs, right? If you look at the schedule that Texas A&M has this season, right? And you put Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia, whoever else it is in that top 5. Double J, would you rattle that off for me right quick, too? Give me the top 6 teams currently in the college football playoff standing.
Absolutely. All right. And so, again, I'll preface that we're about a half hour from these changing.
Okay.
But,
so this is current up until 7 o'clock, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
well, if we're still going, which we should be, we'll come back to it and give up the current standard. But as of now, go ahead.
Yep. As of now, number 1, the Ohio State University. Number 2, LSU. Number 3, Alabama. And number 4, Penn State. Now, outside of that is 5, Clemson. And that rounds out the top 5, all of which were undefeated again going into that last weekend's games.
Okay. Who's number
6?
Yeah.
Those Bulldogs of Georgia.
Okay, so I challenge anybody and everybody out there that's listening right now. I challenge you, go look up what Texas A&M did. And then I'm asking you, Gully and Double J, the 6 teams that you named, put them in Texas A&M's case. Just that's the only thing we're changing. We're taking them 6 teams and putting them in Texas A&M spot. Who's sitting pretty right now? Double J?
Well, I can't say that I would say any of them would be.
Exactly.
You can make the case for Alabama or LSU.
LSU, right?
I don't believe that even then we would be talking about 2 undefeated teams. I think we would be more so saying somebody's just on the outside and maybe a 5 or 6 or 7 with 1 loss. Because again, we both acknowledge right away when we looked at that week 1 calendar that they had you were going to know who Texas A&M was as a team because they did not duck anybody.
Yeah. That's why I say, man, at the end of the day, and then to my other point, I've seen throughout the years, where a team that was ranked high goes up against a team that was ranked not as high, of course a little lower, but let's say a number 7th ranked team would play a number 11th ranked team. Well, to the bettors out there, most people don't do research or, peel back the top 2-3 layers, you know what I'm saying, dive in. They just say, oh, that's number 7 should beat number 11. Give me 500 on number 7 or whatever the case may be. And then you see number 11 smash number 7. And everybody want to come, oh, they were ranked. But what does it mean? I mean, it's fun to talk about, but really, I mean, how much weight does being ranked carry? Because we've seen too many teams that are ranked, quote unquote, get upset. And there's enough of a sample size to say that you really can't place much stocking into who is ranked. Am I lying on that? We got Brother Richard. Brother Richard is on the show with us today. Brother Rich, what's happening from the NYC? What's the dealio?
I'm always honored and humbled to be on the program with you.
Yeah, it's all good.
I apologize for calling in late.
Nah, man, come on now. This is how we do. This is what we do. We already did our discussion on the load management thing though, so I'm sorry you had to miss that. But right now we talking about.
I know you hadn't talked about the Cowboys yet, so I'm on time.
Okay, you know what? That's it. Yo, it's getting mute. You getting a mute. I'm muting it for about 4 minutes. He couldn't even. He wasn't even in 3 minutes before he had to say something about the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? This dude here, man.
You see that? He's putting you under the shop report's load management protocol again, brother.
That's right, Double J. Y'all know that part.
Gully, that's funny too. Why is it that when I get off?
That's hilarious.
Why is it when I get the Three Stooges, we got our gang? I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, remarkable. But anyway, again, man, I'm just saying. At the end of the day, if we all vying to take a seat at the table, and when I say the table, I mean the table, which is in this case the college football playoff standings or whatnot. If I gotta do the dishes, sweep the floors, mop the floor, all of that, just to get a seat at the table, and all you had to do was knock on the door or just pick up the shoes or whatever, you don't deserve. I know this might be a bad analogy, but I hope you all kind of get where I'm going. How you get a bigger portion than me, or how you get the same portion as me? You ain't had to put in as much. You see what I mean? So I still cannot understand how one team can jump another team. I'm trying to figure out what the committee, the NCAA, what they basing on, because ain't nothing else they doing with the other part of what we getting ready to discuss here. Ain't nothing else they doing make no dang on sense. So you trying to tell me
This is why.
Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, I was going to say that this is why that the college football playoff is really decided in August than it is decided in late November, December.
Okay, and why is that the case?
Well, let's be realistic here. If you don't have teams like Alabama in that top spot, right? And let's say we do use Urban Meyer's rationale. If you were to have an unranked Alabama,
somebody making some noise in the background.
Schedule, was it enough versus somebody like if you were to have Texas A&M ranked at 1? And because of the strength of schedule, they lose a couple of games as they have. Would they really be outside the top 10 or in the mid teens, if you will, being rewarded for the schedule?
I don't know.
The quality of the opponent, so to speak?
I don't know. Okay, I'll see that, and I'll raise you. Then why do the national pundits always discuss or talk about teams, one-loss teams getting back in the thick of things later on in the season? If you're saying that the stuff is kind of decided early on in August.
See, this is why to your point, this is why, strange as it is, I think compared to how they've handled the college football playoff, the BCS was better.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way.
The BCS, the way the BCS was handled, in comparison to how they've handled the college football playoff, is better. Let's look at the fact that the one argument for the college football playoff was supposedly was intended to be a guarantee of a more diversified field of potential champions. Alabama and Clemson have won 4, and Ohio State has won the 5th. So there's only been 3 different national champions in 5 years, compared to, even despite the dominance of Alabama in the national championship conversation before the college football playoff, you still had a diverse group of potential teams to play.
Yeah, but guess what, though? Go ahead.
What's that?
Yeah, but at the end and I sound Double J. It sounded like you wanted to say something. So let me throw this out here. I mean, I get you. The BCS. Well, I used to call it the BS. Yeah, right now it might look a little bit better, but it had issues too, because that 2000. What team was that? Jason Campbell. What year was that? Jason Campbell was quarterback for Auburn.
I believe the 04 or 07 Auburn team that went
I don't know.
undefeated.
Yeah, they went undefeated. So based on the BCS system and Auburn being an SEC Power 5 and all that old other stuff they like to throw in, I think they throw in stuff, the committee and all of that. I think they throw in stuff when it's convenient, to validate why this, I think it's a little bit of that going on too. Because it just don't seem like everything is on the up and up to me with all of this. Because everything, the narrative is remote, so to speak, like the podcast here can be. It moves. It just pick up. They change it. It's got wheels on it, and like we said, the post office is rolling stock. You know what I'm saying? No, put that in some stuff that can move here. We don't want that stationary. In other words, you don't have no bona fide, tried and true. This is how we gonna do. But yet and still, they can put a man on the moon, right? Anyway, but we can't figure this out, or we can't figure out how to pay college athletes. But yet and still, we can figure out cell phones and figure out how to put chips in people's arms, and we can hear and listen to phone calls. Yeah, you can figure out what you want to figure out when you want to figure it out. That's my contention, because it's all a bunch of BS. Okay? Just come right out and say, hey, man, they got more boosters than them. Yeah, they did okay. Clap, clap, church clap, but we putting them in. All right, so be it. And to your point, Gully, when you and I had this discussion years ago, you mentioned WWE. When you talk about the other sports, you said, man, or WWF. I wish they'd just come out and be like the WWF. Tell us this is fake, or we getting ready to lie to y'all. So that way up front, then okay, then let me decide if I want to still buy a ticket. You get what I'm trying to tell you? But no. David Stern and the NBA sent Chris Paul to that. We should have went to the Lakers, but he had to go down to Charlotte, even though per NBA, I know I'm going back a few. I'm just talking about all of the BS that these folks try to swear up and down that they got some sort of integrity. They use that word a lot, okay? But based on what you're showing me, it's a bunch of lip service. See what I'm saying? So we're going to move on over to the next part or portion of our college football stuff, because I want to get Brother Richard's thoughts on this one, and you two as well. The penalties, because this is an ongoing topic on this program as well. The penalties levied against Chase Young, and more importantly, I think, or in particular, do I want to use that? James Wiseman, the phenom at Memphis, on the college basketball side of things, down there with my man Penny Hardaway. Oh, and by the way, you all might want to keep an eye on Memphis and Georgetown. I'm thinking that, Patrick Ewing and Penny might do a pretty good darn job. Now, I don't necessarily mean that because you were a former good player or a great player that that's going to translate in you being a great coach. I'm just saying I see things that, you might want to keep an eye on. But these penalties that were levied, by the NCAA, Brother Richard, my question to you is this, and I got the idea for this question from Etan Thomas, former NBA player himself. I don't know if you all follow him, but if you don't, you should.
I'm a fan. I'm very much a fan of his.
Yes, I'm very much a fan of Etan Thomas, because he epitomizes when he puts a post out on Facebook. I'm seeing at the end of the day everything I learned in journalism class to its finest. You know what I mean? The pen is mightier than the sword. The guy puts his words together very, very well. I'm kind of envious. You know what I mean? I've had some training in it, so to speak, but when I see it, I'm like, yeah, I still got a ways to go, even at 50. But anyway, his question basically was the fines or the penalties levied against Chase Young, and for all of you all who don't know, I'll just give you a brief rundown. This whole Chase Young thing, I guess he got a loan from a family member, but they're now saying was an NFLPA person. I don't know who is or who ain't. But at the end of the day, he got a loan to get so his girlfriend could come see him play, but he paid the loan back. And then in the case of Penny Hardaway and this James Wiseman deal, Double J or D Gully, correct me if I'm wrong, or Brother Rich, you too. I'm just saying, I'm just going off the information I was given and I've looked up on that I have. Penny looked out for this young man when he was, not even old enough to, maybe drive a big wheel. I'm being facetious there, but helped his family move or something or another. And now this is so NCAA. What y'all retroactive levying penalties? Eton Thomas was like, is this some sort of payback for legislation being passed for college athletes to get compensated off their images and likeness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Brother Rich, please let us know what's going on here.
Well, I don't think that there is any question that this is what's happening here, and this is why we said when you and I have had this conversation off here, we talk about the fact that this will be LeBron James's enduring legacy. Not so much what he's done on the basketball court, but what he's done in terms of athletes' rights and helping them to understand who and what they are as it relates to sport and play. This is what has happened here. And, of course, this is blowback. This is the NCAA in its last gasp breath, in its death throes, reaching out to say, we're going to punish you all the way to the end here because the hypocrisy, they're naked in front of the world. Everybody see them for what they are. Everybody knows it's hypocrisy. Everybody knows it's I'm not hesitant. I apologize if it offends any of our listeners. Everybody knows it's a form of slavery. Slavery is to extract labor out of a force and not give them reasonable compensation,
right?
And adequate compensation. And don't
right.
Get offended by the comparison because it's absolutely applicable here. And so that's what's happening. You're going to suspend these guys, the basketball player and this football player, for things and remember now, these are people who, under the guise of saying that they are a nonprofit, they are profiting hundreds of millions and billions of dollars every year.
Yep. That's good stuff, Brother Rich. Double J.
Well, he's right on point here. I mean, this is you. No matter how you try to break this down, it comes back to that unfortunate origin of the NCAA and how they go to market. Because again, it's everybody can win as long as they are the ones who are getting the lion's share of profit. And so this to me is no different. The fact that somebody was willing to help someone so they didn't have to go. What did they want these kids to do? What did they want the young man out of Memphis to do? Go to a homeless shelter? No different with Chase Young. What did they prefer he do? Go to a cash advance where now he has to worry about paying twice or maybe three times as much back, depending on what those terms are? I mean, this is out of control here. The fact that they're not supplying the products that are making them billions of dollars with not only the adequate compensation, but at least make sure mom, dad, girlfriend, brother, cousin can at least go to the game.
Yeah.
Mind you, Double J, in some circumstances, we're talking about life. We're talking about just basic life necessities. We're talking about the ability of a young person to be able to say, I want to go today and eat McDonald's because the kitchen is closed or the cafeteria is closed. I want to eat McDonald's. And I can't even buy that. His mother or his uncle or so-and-so can't even treat that person because the NCAA can at any time arbitrarily say, oh, no, this violates the rules. This is silly. This is silly. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's
legal extortion.
Yeah, it's past the point of ridiculousness, Brother Rich. It is, and I hear I can hear the no, I won't say venom, but I will. I can hear the venom in your voice, like, wait, because that's how ridiculous this crap is. You see what I'm saying? And then they have the nerve to stand on still. Well, not them. Well, probably them, but some folks I had conversation with about this. Well, they getting a free education. I said, man, if you don't go sit your in the corner, you don't even get a last meal. Okay.
But Jay, they used to be able to use that argument. But here's the issue now. They set graduation rates. They're not getting an education. All these top institutions are not even graduating these young men. So that would be okay if you said, yes, here's proof that 900 players went to North Carolina, 900 got their degree. But what the fact detail is that 900 went to North Carolina and 750 of them did not graduate, and the 150 that may have matriculated, they only got they got a degree in basket weaving. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, to your guys' point that they can't be used anymore, that it was actually used 2 weeks ago on Fox Business by the subjective, legendary former head coach of Auburn, Tommy Tuberville, who was, putting his political hat on. And
do tell, because I didn't catch that.
Absolutely. It was, so in short, he was being the mouthpiece for the league, or rather for the NCAA, in saying why these kids actually receiving something would be such a bad thing for business. And I'm paraphrasing here, again, in reflecting that they're getting these world-class degrees. And, look, let's face it, the NCAA tries. They try to tell us that every person that's on Purdue's football team or basketball team can be a mechanical engineer. Matter of fact, I'm going to encourage you all to go back and look at this. There was actually a situation where they chose what program you actually could go in because of the workload, rather the course load. Saying, look, we don't feel that you're going to be able to effectively do both. And that, again, if you're not on the field because you're now academically suspended, that jeopardizes what we brought you here for, which was to make us money on that football field.
Tell it, Jay.
Do you see some of the contradictions here?
Yeah, big time.
That, what do you mean you're inviting me to come here and get this world-class education, but the program that you're ranked top 5 in the world in, I can't participate in?
Exactly.
That doesn't sound like I have the power of choice at all. I'm signing my life away.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So, again, miss me with the powdered sugar on a pile of dog crap and try to convince me that it's a funnel cake. How dare you insult my intelligence like that? I'm looking at flies taking off and landing on this sucker, and you're going to sit, you know what, man, go sit your in the corner. Yeah, Gully, you got something you want to say on this? You want to add the 14 cents?
This was understood, need not be explained.
Hey, if you're going to say my line, hold it. If you're going to say my line, if you're going to say my line, say it right.
It's not your line.
It is my line.
It is my line. Whose line is it?
It's mine. Oh, got you.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, anyway.
Well, we're gonna have over Thanksgiving, we're going to have a discussion about that.
I'm not going to Boston Market. I don't care where you're going. And if you're going to say my line, say it right. What's already understood need not be explained, asked, or shown. Continue.
All right. Well,
like KRS-One said, cats out here repeat my line sloppily.
Yeah. They're running out of leverage to be able to talk about that education. Brother Rich, you had brought up some numbers. I'm not certain if your numbers that you brought up were just to make the example or if they were accurate, but I would hazard to say that I'm willing to bet if we look at the accuracy or the legitimacy of those numbers, they'll probably use a lot of the sports that the big money-making sports like the football programs and the basketball programs, they'll probably look at the numbers of college, of high school, of student-athlete graduates and use numbers for other programs that don't have as much, that are not as much time consuming. Meaning, they'll probably look at the student athletes on let's say, the golf team, or let's say the swim team or the volleyball team that may not have has intensive schedule. Look at those numbers and conflate those numbers of graduation rates to help enhance the overall numbers of student-athlete graduations, basically to help hide and conceal the fact that the football and basketball programs travel, they study, they play intensively their game, and that helps to bring in the revenue that helps to feed all of the other student-athlete programs. And then you'll use the other programs' graduation rates to help make the case that they're student-athletes. Yeah, it's a farce, and they're running out of leverage. We're tired of it. I mean, we want to progressively move to a point where people want to get remunerated for the efforts they put in. Like you say, it's almost like a form of slavery.
Don't hesitate.
The idea that you
say
still,
it. It is.
That billions of dollars of revenue is generated, yet in that same arena, if we look at the sport itself, when we look at the example, if you look at your college basketball, you look at your stadium on Saturday, when you look at Alabama and LSU, two people at least we knew got paid to be there that Saturday. That was the LSU coach and the Alabama coach. Of everybody else on that field, contributed to the entertainment that the rest of the world experienced and the revenue generated, we know that the coach got paid and he's on the field bringing in his lineman, bringing in his quarterback. And we say that that's fair. No, it's not fair, and it's not going to stand.
And just to give you all some insight, not you all in particular, but the folks out there who might be listening or who don't see the connection as to why the term or word slavery is being used in this instance, let me give you a little bit of one of the definitions or a little breakdown in the definition of the term or word slavery. A condition compared to that of a slave in respect of exhausting labor or restricted freedom. So, now this ain't my dictionary now. Okay, this is Webster. All right? Based on that, what I've just read, how is this not the case? Huh? See? Because when you say that word, that's why my grandfather taught me, always define. Because in this instance, when you say that word or that term, the first idea folks that's formulated in folks' minds is, what happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s, whatever the case may be. That it is, but we're saying in this case, what the definition of is what I just read to you. Right? So at the end of the day, I'm going to end this segment with this. We teach our children growing up, as I just mentioned earlier, know your worth. We raise our children. Go on out there and be the best that you can. Know your worth. Be the best that you can be. Go on out there and get what's yours, right? If you earned it, you should get it, right? But the NCAA is saying, yeah. But also know that your worth ain't you ain't worth-ish. 267-687-0026 is the number to call. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, we're moving on to the second hour of the program. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. All right. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit of NFL action here. Now, we will get to our notable team performances here in a minute. There's really not many to choose from in Week 10, unfortunately. But I also threw in a little something that, on last week's show, we were discussing a certain team, that team which will not be named. There are two teams that will not be named on this show tonight, not this show, okay? But we will, as part of my research for this show, mention some of the variables in regards to what we discussed last week in terms of NFL teams that went from worst to first. Now, Brother Richard and I were having sort of a back and forth thing going on here. So, Brother Richard, this is for you. I'm coming to you first. But this is also for Double J, D Gully, and the three people that might be listening. Thank you very much. Since 2001, Now, see, here's the caveat to this, though. When I say worst to first, Brother Rich, give me a number of games on the worst side of things that you would consider the worst, so to speak. Like, for instance, we know the Browns last year went 0-16. So what would be the worst? What number of games would be the worst in your mind?
Well, I mean, except that you are a Dallas Cowboys team with a bunch of money and an overinflated hype and a bunch of foolishness surrounding you, I don't think you could do much worse than 0-16, except, again, if you're the Dallas Cowboys. So I would say 0-16 would be, we are poised to be the NFL's biggest worst to first story. So let's
not necessarily,
Yeah,
because the Saints went 0-16. 1-15, I believe, once, and they ended up finally
but
they've
won.
the Super Bowl.
They've won since then. They've come up as a team, as a franchise.
Okay,
so unlike us, people are looking at us. So,
got you. Yeah, and I think the Lions were 0-16 once upon a time too. So the Browns they're not doing nothing unprecedented. Okay, so excuse me.
Well, the Lions didn't spend Cowboy money.
Yeah, but the Lions they don't got as much talent as some of the other teams either. You know what I'm saying? And I'd put my money on them if I had money to put on them. But anywho, since 2001. Now I don't know if you would consider this a worst or first, but the Chicago Bears went from 5-11 to 13-3. Because the point I'm trying to make here is that there are some teams who've won 5 games, 4 games, 3 games, 2 games, 1 game, and it didn't take them 20 years. Do I need to finish that? Oh, okay. In 2001, both the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots were 5-11. The Bears, again, as I mentioned, went 13-3 the following season. The Patriots went 11-5 and made the playoffs. Wait a minute. Let me check this here. Oh, excuse me. Oh, wait a minute. The Patriots were 5-11, went 11-5, and won the Super Bowl that year. Imagine that. Let's move on down the line here, because there are a few worst to first teams. Like in 2003, Kansas City was 8-8, so that's average. So you don't really want to include that in here. So let's stick with the 5s and the 4s and the less thans. 2004, Atlanta, 5-11, 11-5. 2004, San Diego. At the time, Chargers were in San Diego. 4-12, went to 12-4. The 2005 Bears went from 5-11 to 11-5. 2005 New York Giants went from 6-10 to 11-5. 05 Buccaneers went from 5-11, 11-5. 2006 Baltimore Ravens went from 6-10 to 13-3. The 2006 New Orleans Saints went from 3-13 to 10-6. And then just to go down the line a little bit more here, the 2007 Buccaneers went from 4-12 to 9-7. The 2008 Miami Dolphins went from 1-15 to 11-5. Now this is we talking about from one season to another. Then we go a little bit down the line a little further here. The 2010 Kansas City Chiefs went from 4-12 to 10-6. Imagine that. And what's really interesting on this list, well, in 2009, we know the Saints won the Super Bowl. They were 8-8, so I said I'm going to stay away from that. But even still, they went from 8-8 to 13-3 and won the Super Bowl that year. So my point is, and I got teams on this list that I have not mentioned. There's about, and this is just from 2001. We're not going back to 1995, 96, 97. This is all 2001, from 2001 just to 2012. Just to 2012. I can't even count how many number of teams is on this list that I'm looking at right now. And I tell you what, it didn't take them 20 years.
Did they win the title, Jay? Is that why you're mentioning these teams? They won some title, or they just got better? Because you act like our season is over. We just started,
No. Listen what I'm trying to tell you. We just got started for how long? Since 1999, the narrative has not changed. The narrative ain't changed. I'm saying it don't take all these teams that's on this list since 2001.
When's the last time the Rams won something? When's the last time the Rams won?
The Rams are not on this list. I'm talking about teams that went from worst to first.
When's the last time?
See, you trying to add something else?
When's the last time they won, sir?
Listen, you're trying to add something else into here that's not relevant to this. I said I was gonna pull up teams who it didn't take them 20 years to go from a losing season to a winning season. Let me be more specific.
In the slander.
That's not okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Right. It didn't.
Just slander the Browns directly. Just say
I'm
our
not
names.
slandering the Browns. I'm not slandering the
Fans,
Browns. I'm not
fans,
slandering the
he's
Browns.
talking
Are you
about the
serious?
Browns. That's what he's talking.
Are you
Just say our
serious?
team. Just say it.
Listen. We will not mention no names of teams on this program until we get to the notable team performances. How dare you talk out of turn on this program? You know what, man?
What it is, Brother Rich?
So now
Cowboys haven't won since '96.
Fact.
That's what is
Fact.
really
And
all.
hold on. First of all,
20 years.
First
right?
of all,
take 20 years. Right?
okay.
At this point?
Okay, so I tell you, no, I'm not talking about 20 years. Okay, I see what we're doing here. Got you. So here's what I'm going to do now.
And Double J and trillions of dollars. We're not even going to mention that. Trillions, but let's go.
Yeah, but the Browns was worth billions of dollars. And they hadn't won Okay, but it's cool. Here's what we're going to do now, since y'all want to throw all of that in there. Okay, I got you. Here, yeah.
Well, you know what, Brother Rich, too? Let's not forget, needless forget, that in that same gap of time here that our host is holding over our head, the Browns did have they moved. They relocated.
What they got to do?
So
stop it.
From
Man.
Fort Worth, I don't think that's the same.
You know what? Both of y'all sound like load management. Yeah, and this load I just had to step over when I came back in from the store. Sound like load management. Yeah, okay, I got you. But anyway, I done made the case for what it is that I'm saying. You know what I mean? It don't take 20-something. See, here's the killer part. You see what I'm saying? Y'all new to the party, as I mentioned last week. Y'all new to this. Huh? Y'all Browns fans. Y'all talk Browns fans. Y'all Browns. Like y'all been Browns fans. Okay, well then guess what? In 1981, name me one player without Google that played with the Browns other than Brian Sipe and Ozzie Newsome. Huh? Don't let me go through the whole roster. See what I'm saying? I'm Cleveland Brown all up and threw up in this chest cavity. You understand what I'm trying to tell you?
We know you suffered Red Right 88. We know you suffered all.
Well, I'm not talking about the. I'm not talking about the play. Okay. I'm not talking about the play. So don't try that with me today. I said, but I never mind. Cleo Miller. Try Cleo Miller on for size. How about that? Anyway, we're gonna move on to our Week 10 notable team performances. Again, we are in the last portion of this program. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, the number to call us. Wow. I said without Google. The area code is 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 687-0026. See what I'm saying? Y'all got me up in here having senior moments and stuff. But we ain't going to keep on going through that. You under dig? Not happening. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, when we got to this portion of the program, wasn't that many notable performances from Week 10 that really kind of stood out to me, except for maybe, a handful, if you would. And I will, sorry about that, fellas. That was a little bit of action that shouldn't have been the case. I'll start with last night's game. 49ers and the Seahawks. Now, I got to tell you, for a Monday night game, and I fell asleep at the end, doggone it. That was a pretty good game up to the point that I fell asleep. Brother Rich, did you see the Monday night game? Or were you too busy sitting in Jerry Jones's, unfortunately, next to Urban Meyer?
Unfortunately, I did not see it, sir.
Oh, you didn't see the game? You wasn't looking at, you wasn't looking for that game, huh? Too busy sitting next to Urban Meyer? Moonwalking back on the comments about the playoffs, college football playoff system is a farce. Yeah, gotcha. Number one booster. Double J, did you see last night's game?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay. Well, are the Seahawks for real, or is the 49ers defense terrible?
Well, we
or it's not as good as advertised, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, Russell Wilson in the first half had maybe 3 first downs, and so the San Francisco defense was as advertised. But again, you make adjustments, and let's not forget, San Francisco didn't have their number one option, which was Greg Kittle. And, absolutely. So if you don't have your number one option and yet you still take a team to overtime, I think you're as advertised. Although I will kind of point out that Booger McFarland did a good job of this yesterday evening. Late in that fourth quarter, when it was that quote-unquote crunch time where the stars really shined the brightest, Jimmy Garoppolo kind of looked like the moment was too big for him.
Oh, he did now. Like I said, I didn't get to see the tail end. What will make you say the moment seemed a little bit too big for Jimmy Garoppolo?
He was getting happy feet in the pocket, and, oftentimes that's dictated by pressure. But Seattle's defense hasn't been really what you would hope for. Certainly wasn't the Legion of Boom, of course, as the years passed. So, and on top of that, he was making a lot of throws, all of a sudden off his back foot. You're seeing almost a very different quarterback. You're seeing, versus the traditional in the pocket release point. His timing, everything is great. All of a sudden, there's a little bit of pressure there. And, pressure can make diamonds or pressure can burst
pipes. Yeah, pressure bust pipes. I don't know. We'll see what's what going forward. I know one thing. All that talk about Russell Wilson being a game manager, that's out the window. Okay? If they get back to the thick of things, it's going to be largely because of him, because that whole team is not the same as it was in the few years back when they was on their Super Bowl runs. And the 49ers, we still got to see. The jury's still out on them, I mean, again, you are what your record says you are, all right, until some other team proves otherwise. But I was impressed with last night's game because we've been seeing a lot of poo-poo on these nationally televised situations from the NFL. They got to do a better job as far as I'm concerned. And last night, from what I saw, it turned out to be one worth watching. And out of all the Thursday nights, Monday nights we didn't have so far, it's the one time I fell asleep. But anyway, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brother Rich, are you impressed with the job that Mike Tomlin has done despite all of the chaos?
Absolutely, I'm impressed with them. Absolutely, and they're to be impressed with. Absolutely, I'm impressed with them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I am too. 2 words come to mind. Again, as long as I've been a Browns fan, and I don't knock the Browns fans who are, but this whole idea with the Steelers, I get it, rivalry and all of that. Rivalries are good for competition and whatnot or whatever it is. But some of them, man, they just go overboard when it comes to why they hate the Steelers. And I said, in reality, be mad at yourself and your team for not being what the Steelers are, because that's really what the case is. I'm not one of them type of Cleveland Browns fans. I get the rivalry, but I'm only going. I mean, it's a matter of perspective for me. Sports talk, sports watching, all of that. Period. It's a matter of perspective for me. I don't go but so far with it. But these dudes right here, man, they creeping up. But I still don't think at the end of the day, if they get in the playoffs.
That ends on Thursday. Ends on Thursday.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Brother Richard, I'm going to need you to put the Mogan David and Manischewitz back in the cabinet. Okay, I don't know what kind of day you had, man. But I'm going to need you, I'm going to need lay off the stuff while we're on the pre-program. Would you please, man? Wait till after the show, man, before you get to drinking dough. But that whole, it's 2 words come to mind. That's always seem to be mentioned with these dudes, man. Or should I say 3 words? The Steeler way. You know what I'm saying? And right now, the way Mike Tomlin got these boys rolling, you know what I'm saying? With Mason Rudolph, without Le'Veon and all that kind of stuff, you gotta be impressed, man, with that guy. I've always been impressed with him in particular. I think he is, when it comes to our culture, he apprises himself very well, man. So be on the lookout, man, for the Steelers, because I think they gonna be in the thick of it when it's all said and done. I will also mention, now I know it was against Kenny Gardner's, but Double J, what is the deal with Lamar Jackson, man? And I will pull up the tape if I have to on myself, because I was one of the ones first who said, yeah, he's a talent, but he ain't going to get it done running around, looking like RG3 and all the rest of them RPO-type quarterbacks that then came and went, so to speak. And then on top of that, throwing for only, 1,200 yards last season? I don't know what I said, but I tell you what, man, he looked like a totally different dude. And with him, provided everything can stay as it is, the Ravens are dangerous, man. This year, they dangerous. Your thoughts, Double J?
Yeah, I mean, there was I've myself.
You can't even get the words out, huh? I got
adamant.
you.
Thank you.
Huh?
We've been saying this now for
What?
a while now about since July, that this was going to be the coming out party for this young man. And
hold that thought.
I thought
Can
it was
you hold that thought?
especially interesting to
Hold that
see.
thought.
You mentioned
Hold that thought for me, please.
Double J, you're a good man. You are a good man.
Hold that thought, Double J. Brother Rich, you saying thank you as if though I didn't just admit that I was not sold on the man from the beginning.
No,
Saying
sir,
thank
no,
you,
sir,
thank you.
we're
Nah,
saying
that's
thank
what
you
it is.
for
That's
that.
what it
We
is. That's
wanna
what
be
it is.
acknowledged. No, we want to be acknowledged that we did say this. We've been saying this.
I gave y'all credit for saying it. What are you doing? See what I'm saying? You just want to throw darts, man. You just want to throw. You got a pocket full of darts, man, that you picked up from the 5 and Dime store. You just got to throw them at somebody. You know what I'm saying?
All with cowboy emblems attached to them.
Continue, Double J. Oh yeah, I can't wait to get these sound effects. I'm telling you, I got something for y'all's ascots. Go ahead, Double J. Finish that, will you?
So he didn't look like RG3. At one point in time, you did see RG3 in the backfield. One of the handful of occasions where there's been 3 Heisman Trophy winners lining up, behind center.
Okay, so
And so that
I
was
saw that
very,
post.
very cool to
Yeah.
see.
Oh, okay. It was just cool because you had people talking about that on Facebook, like
Again,
it was.
it's been done only a certain number of times in NFL history. So absolutely, when regardless of how those may feel about Robert Griffin or even Mark Ingram, or of course no different than yourself here with Lamar Jackson.
Wow, really?
I think that was a good way to prove some folks wrong and remind them of who they are. It's a very bold statement.
So is that
by
why
the Ravens, and I think done in the classiest way.
So is that why you engage in sports debate, you and Brother Rich? Just for the sake of proving somebody wrong? Not necessarily to enlighten, you see what I'm saying? And where a person can say, hey, I didn't think of it that way.
I'm guilty. I raised my hand. I'm guilty.
Really?
I'm guilty.
That's what it's for? Wow, okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you all live for those moments. I don't. That's not, my purpose is not for wins and losses. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to, preen, what I'm saying, I'll pop my collar because, I took a swipe at somebody's intelligence and say, yeah, I chopped you. No, that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. Okay, Brother Rich? Slow it down. See what I'm saying? See, what happens is, y'all, the reason why Brother Rich was late, I'm going to tell y'all why Brother Rich was late to the show today. They got a movie theater out there. He was watching Bruce Lee flicks. And you know how they do when they come out the theater? He was kicking and punching, and he punched some guy in the back of the head, and, I just saw it on CNN, and it just, it was ugly. It was ugly. You know what I mean? So, I just saw a yellow envelope being passed, and now Brother Richard is here. We're glad you're here, man. We really are. Yeah, right.
Now, there is something that I do want to point out regarding Lamar Jackson, and this is personally something I never imagined that I would see regarding a record that would be broken, which was Michael Vick's rushing record in a single season. And he's on pace to do that. So whether, if he does or he doesn't, it's still just the fact that he's in that conversation this late into a season, and more importantly, we don't identify with him as a running quarterback. We know he has that capability. If anything, they wanted that label, if you will, would have been last season. It certainly is not the catalyst to his success this season at all.
No.
If anything, all he's done all this year, it has been sit in the pocket, and they'll beat you that way. And guess what? If there's nothing there, oh yeah, I'll moonwalk to the first down.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I'm very, very impressed. He's a little bit different, than the RG3 and the Mike Vick to me. With all due respect to both of them, especially Mike Vick, after all of that stuff he went through or whatnot. But when I look at Lamar Jackson, man, these last couple of weeks, and especially in that game the other day, well, I mean, Cincinnati, like I said, they're the kindergarten team. But the Ravens right now are, in my opinion, a good combination of what Brother Rich has been saying as far as coaching and coaching staff and things of that nature, and what I've been saying, in regards to the players. They just seem to be they come together well, especially this season for these guys, man. And when I watch the dude, he just does it. He does it in a different way than a Vic and a RG3. I don't know if I would go so far as to, say like a Randall Cunningham, because he was special. Warren Moon was even special. But this Lamar Jackson, man, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Now, I think they're gonna be a problem moving forward. Everything, everybody can stay relatively healthy and things of that nature, which is tough to do, seeing how it is the NFL, and as some people have said, facetiously, not for long, which could mean, man, at the end of the day, you one injury away, right? Yeah. So with the nature of the sport, you got to consider that. But somehow, some way or another, if they can maintain, man, they get to the playoffs, they're going to be a problem. And then last but not least is a combination of two teams. I think they kind of go hand in hand because they play in the same division. Now, Brother Richard is always making reference to pull a tape. I'm like, what kind? Duck? Scotch? What kind of tape you want me to pull there? You know what I'm saying? This is in between shots.
Whatever tape that show the truth about the Cowboys, pull that tape.
How about we pull the tape about you taking sips of Manischewitz while you're on the job? How about that? Let's show that to the employer. Oh, my bad. You own the company. Sorry. Anywho, the Raiders and the Chiefs. Now, I think somebody else on it. And by the way, I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm a Lions fan. Double J, you should be ashamed of yourself. You really should. All of the stuff you say on Facebook about the Lions. Some of that stuff is untrue. I'm going to put together a segment called State Your Case. You all heard it here first. I just had to say it out loud so that it would be recorded, so in case somebody else try to take it, I got proof. But anyway, we're going to state your case. Right now.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, I bet you do. Right now.
Are you kidding? Do we really need a whole segment for him to talk about the Cowboys?
I said it's called State Your Case. I ain't say nothing about the Cowboys. You all talk about the Cowboys so much, I'm starting to wonder if y'all undercover fizzans. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, the Raiders, man. I think somebody on this program said or made mention that the Raiders, look out for them this season. And I think two other people was like, get on out of here with that. The Chiefs, Andy Reid, and la. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Now, it's not his fault that the man dislocated his kneecap, and we all know that man being Patrick Mahomes. But if any team prior to this season had dysfunction written all over it, which could have been used as an excuse for lack of success in a season or this season, it was the Raiders. So, Double J, since you know more than me and Brother Rich know way more than either one of us, I'm going to start with you. Explain why the Raiders are and could potentially, possibly, if they play it right, win the AFC West, like somebody else on this program said that could potentially happen. Proceed.
Well, you pointed out, the fact that this is kind of reminiscent of a team a few years ago that is peaking about a year too soon, and they chose not to make any real
why
moves
wait
at the trade deadline. Which
you said peaking too soon. Why wait? I wish another team would peak soon.
Well, you got to remember here, they have a shiny new stadium that is enormous. for those that have not had the opportunity to be in Vegas and see it for themselves. That
Really?
is,
We had to get another Vegas reminder,
mammoth.
huh? Got you. Oh, yeah, it is.
So nevertheless, that's what they're saving it for. Again, thanks to the Antonio Brown trade, amongst other moves that they've made for the better part of the 2 seasons, basically since John Gruden's been a part of the franchise. He's literally building this thing from the ground up, i.e. that stadium. And so next year is the year that they will be a playoff expectation next season. But as far as this year, since they're playing with house money and they can go out on top and one last hurrah for Oakland, let's face it, the Broncos are out of it. And you look at Kansas City right now, they brought back Mahomes, who, he made some great throws, but I don't want to take anything away from Tennessee because as soon as they put Tannehill at quarterback, they were a different team. I also recall, since we're going back in the history books there to the preseason, I specifically said I would like to see what could happen if he was the quarterback for that team.
Yeah.
And he got his chance, and here we are. But I digress. So yes, they very much have a shot at not only the wild card, but certainly the division. I don't think they'll get the division. Josh Jacobs is playing out of his mind.
Yes, he is.
Derek Carr's playing like the old Derek Carr of a few years ago.
Well, he's playing like a quarterback that's got a running game. I don't know why the running back position in the NFL is so devalued. Like I said before, or we said on this program, they do that, the management does, so that they can try to lowball you when it comes to contract negotiation or contract negotiation time. But we clearly, you need a I mean, we do talk about the Browns. Nick Chubb is the guy, and I heard Gerard Cherry say it. And Gerard Cherry is a former Super Bowl winner now. Okay, he won the Super Bowl with the Patriots. He said the other day on the program, he said, "Man, I don't understand why the Browns don't. The identity should start with Chubb. Then you finish it off with some passing and whatnot." He said, but despite the situations in which the Browns should be running the ball or giving the ball to Chubb or whatnot, he said they refuse to, and they just want to pass. I don't understand it. Every coach that comes here has got, it's like they're trying to prove a point. Like it's a pass happy league, so we're gonna show we can pass too. But no. It's not good. You play based on how you get a feel for what's going on, who in front of you in the game, the way this game is playing out. Not because you're trying to prove a point. But anyway, yeah, I'm impressed by the Raiders so far. But Brother Rich, we're gonna go to you right quick on this. Is John Gruden right now, since everybody wants to always talk, make this an issue or make this a case, is John Gruden worth the $176 million trillion right now? At least right now.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
What has he done? What has he won? What has he shown us? He's made the team is starting to play better. After you traded away the kind of players he had and made some of the kind of moves that he made coming in, now we got to wait and see. We got to wait and see. We're ready to crown him and say he's worth $100 million, but we're not even willing to give a team in the Midwest who is coming back from the brink of extinction, we're not even willing to give them a couple of weeks to get their stuff together.
A couple of weeks, the season is almost over. Hold on. In any event, the Browns have had a couple hundred years. What do you mean a couple weeks? Are you know what, man? Oh, my gosh.
My answer, sir, is no. I'm not ready to crown. I'm not ready to crown him. As they said, crown is so-and-so. I'm not ready to crown him yet. You crown him.
I'm not crowning him. I asked a question.
You go ahead and crown.
Hold on. I asked a question, and I'm crowning him? See, I don't know what's going on here. I really don't know what's going on. It's technical difficulties I see we got to do.
Well, yes, in many respects you are, because based on your logic, you would have fired that Cowboys head coach who is doing nothing more than he did when he was sitting behind Troy Aikman his entire career.
I'm not no fan of Jason Garrett.
Yes,
never have been. I'd rather have Danny White. If I just had to be what y'all saying is Cowboys, I'd take Danny White. Yeah, I'd take Danny White. Yeah, who played in the 1979 Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, against the Denver Broncos. Oh, but my bad. Y'all don't got Google. Got you. Man, don't test my skills on this program. Don't do it. Do not do it. I'm not crowning John Gruden. I just asked a question. Why is it that I ask a question, all of a sudden, oh, so now I'm a fan of the Raiders too? All I did was make the same kind of predictions on this program that you gentlemen have made, but all of a sudden, now I got to be riding on the same bus, on the same street at the same time with these teams? I get what this is.
Well, according to what I hear, you got a post on Facebook saying ABC, always backing the Cowboys. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the rumor that's on the street.
I don't know. Well, that's a rumor. All right, believe half of what you see and none of what you see. Okay, or what you've seen. All right, I don't know where you're getting that from. This is what I mean. See, this is why I tell people who drink a lot, don't let the sauce be your boss. Okay? And I'm gonna need you to lay off the Manischewitz. Did you add something extra to it? Some Wild Dog 48 or something? I forget what they call that stuff. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Sound to me like though somebody need to hey mean or something. But yeah, I'm looking forward to how this NFL season should finish itself out. And I'll be the first one to tell you, and the Browns got a heck of a chance now to roll things out the way. But the question I asked last week, I'll ask again before we get out of here. The Browns run the table. I'm asking Double J first because I already know Brother Richard's answer, a part of it anyway. The Browns run the table, right? And I said we weren't going to mention that on this program, so I got something special for y'all next week. Will that eliminate or just cover up the warts for this franchise? False hope will it give the fans? Double J?
Well, wait a minute. Why are we to choose from those two options?
Thank you.
Because they still got problems. Whether you want to call it on the coaching or whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, you cannot have. Look, we can go down the line. Who's to blame? We don't have that much time left in this program. We'll pick it back up next week. But right quick, this tackling is still terrible. Our linebackers are terrible, except for Mack. On the offensive side of the ball, they still, and when you, especially again to Brother Richard's point about the coaching, they're still calling plays that are not conducive to the offensive line play. Let's be real. They won that game the other day. Good for the Browns. But from a substantive standpoint, if you watch that game in its entirety, they did so, as I've said before, and I've said since 1999. Matter of fact, a time or two or three since 1981, they do so begrudgingly. Why? Even the dudes, and I don't even listen to them all the time, but Gerard Cherry was like, man, you at the 1 yard line, you had 23,000 tries from the 1 yard line, and you can't get in? Come on, man. That's not no, like a, what do you call it? Like I don't want to say abnormality. That's not like just something that just happened at that particular time. That's not the norm. Okay, so this time it was 43,000 tries from the one. What was it last week? And the week before that? And the week before that? And the 3 years before that? And the 10 years before that? And the 25 years before that? I promise you, since you all are Browns fans now, quote unquote, diehard Browns fans, then I want y'all to do some Browns homework. I want you to go back as far as that Red Right 88 season. Check out some box scores and some play-by-plays, or even look up some YouTube, whatever you got to do. And I want you to find me the common denominator from way back then to when they moved up until, to after they came back up until now. And then we'll pick this back up on the next program. How about that? And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. You go to the Spreaker.com network search box and you type in the Shop Report. Or you can check us out on our Facebook fan page, Twitter, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And when you're there, give us a follow or subscribe, even in particular to our YouTube channel. And of course, you can always get us via email, the shopreport365@gmail.com. And while you're there, you can let us know what topics you might want us to discuss, or anything in general. You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to necessarily be sports related, because we do community here as well. And if that don't work, Google it. From my man from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Brother Rich. My cat on the other side from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. And I guest appearance from my man from the CO Alum Bus, D Gully. And all those who follow and support us, we say thank you. I'm Barbershop J, and you've been listening to the Shop Report. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. And tell Brother Richard to put the Manischewitz down. Holla.